Donald Trump is inheriting one of the best economies that a president has inherited in a very long period of time. If you look at the fact that something like net migration at the border is lower than it was even before Donald Trump took office. If you want to look at the stock market, you're looking at the stock market right now.
I'm not even finished running it down yet.
This is the first time.
The border needs to be secured further, and this number can be accurate.
But this is the first time.
Biden's final job report is out, and it's a doozy, a veritable orgy of revisions, kicking off with a massive Bureau of Labor Statistics revision that wiped out 589,000 imaginary jobs the Biden administration had been propping up until the election. Every single month of 2024 was revised down, and keep in mind, this is not the whole story. The Philly Fed thinks there's another 800,000 fake jobs lurking in the sweet nothings of Biden's finest, government statisticians. Trump's new chief economist, Kevin Hassett, summed it up, quote, "The Biden job market was way worse than markets thought. There is a lot of cleaning up to do." Democrats and legacy media, of course, tried to pin the whole mess on Trump, terming it as, quote, Trump's first job report when it covers the period before Trump even took office, and revises numbers Biden invented. Now, even more concerning than the revisions was job composition. Nearly 70% of new jobs were either government workers or government-funded education and social assistance, what the Wall Street Journal calls the welfare industrial complex. Just 45,000 jobs were created outside government out of an economy of 164 million workers. That is roughly one-third what the economy needs just to tread water. Note, all those government-funded jobs will have been bought with tax dollars. The government, of course, creates absolutely nothing. It only steals. This pumps up the national debt, which we will either have to repay with higher taxes or, as Biden had been doing, with inflation. Once again, full-time jobs were replaced by part-time jobs, a theme under Biden. Government counts both as a job, of course, but most people take part-time jobs because they can't find a full-time job, and yet they still need to eat. Finally, the report found that precisely 99.2% of new jobs in January went to foreign-born workers. Just 0.8% went to the native-born, who make up 4/5 of Americans' population and, in theory, 90% of America's voters, in case Dems wonder why they lost.
What's up, guys? If you're new to this channel, on this channel, I've constantly documented how I believe the economy was bad. I believe we were in a recession. Biden's talk about it's transitory lies, right? And I talk about this tagline that I have found online is that the American people trust the internet more than they trust the TV. As you saw from my intro, you just got the latest job reports, right? And Democrats are trying to spin narratives around the economy. Because remember how they were telling us the economy is strong. Joe Biden, on his way out, was trying to message that Donald Trump was inheriting a strong economy. You had Bakari Sellers from CNN arguing with Scott Jennings that, hey, Trump always gets lucky. First, on his first term, he got handed down a good economy by Barack Obama, and now he's getting handed a strong economy by Joe Biden. Bakari Sellers, Democrat strategist, said that on CNN debate stage. Then when the actual evidence come out, voters were right about the economy. The data was wrong. Here's why unemployment is higher, wages are lower, and the growth less robust than government statistics suggest. So if you are a liberal, if you are people of the media, because remember, Democrats are the only voting bloc that majority of them trust the mainstream media at this point. Independents don't trust, majority of independents don't trust mainstream media. Definitely a majority of Republicans don't trust mainstream media. And time after time, my skepticism about the government keeps getting validated, keeps being vindicated. I keep talking about how, look, if you've been following me for a while, you know I love to quote The Guardian. 8 months ago, this is what The Guardian wrote. The majority of Americans wrongly believe U.S. is in a recession and most blame Biden. Let's read the article because it's important to have context about the outrage that many Americans feel about the Democratic Party. Why the Democratic Party's unfavorability rating is high. Why no one has why they're tanking. Why voters are dropping this party like flies because they keep getting stuff wrong. They keep pretending they're doing something good when, at the end of the day, we all know they're only doing things in their own best interest. But voters were right about the economy. The data was wrong. Here's why unemployment is higher, wages are lower, and growth less robust than the government statistics suggest. I want to show you a clip, right? When you see these Democrats hollering about censorship, this is why they love censorship. This is why they want content moderation, because they want to control the opinions of people. If you look at my channel, maybe I'll put it up after you see this clip. Maybe I'll pull up a video reacting to what I was saying in the past. You can see that, hey, even though I didn't have information, I knew something was up. It's like, yo, this don't make sense. This doesn't make sense. The government does not have any incentive to paint itself in a bad light. Yet the media wants to piggyback off them, say the government says we're good. Look at the stats. The economy is up. The economy is good. The economy is strong. 8 months ago, during the election, right? Majority of Americans wrongly believe the U.S. is in a recession. It's unfair to blame Biden. The minute the January job reports come out, they're quick to put it on Trump. But the mess happened when it was during Biden's last term. All that was the culmination of the outcomes that Joe Biden's governance, that the Democratic governance for the last 4 years have produced to us. And now it no longer hurts them. They're okay with having the information out now. Now that political losses money from USAID, it's not protecting the Democrats now. How convenient. All it took was for us to win. And this is how these people are so manipulative. This is why I have such a negative bias against people on the left, against liberals, because I always feel like, stuff like this vindicates my prejudice against liberals and leftist ideology and leftism, is that these people always try to trick you into doing something. And they only will admit fault once the decision's already been made and you cannot take it back. And this is my number one problem with leftism. Leftism is based in deception. But I digress.
At this point, I am convinced if Donald Trump gave every American household $1 million, you guys will find a reason to hate him. The way the left-wing media and the propaganda and the way that they have brainwashed everyday American citizen needs to be studied at this point. The lies that are being told day after day, ever since this man has taken office, is just so ridiculous. And the information can be researched and can be debunked in literally seconds. The latest lie that he cut individual Medicaid and Social Security, food stamps, and Section 8 for people is simply not true. But yet you guys still run with it and speak on it and make videos and think pieces, all because you have been trained and brainwashed to hate this man. That is some sick stuff. These leaders, this left-wing media, this propaganda, they really, really know that you guys are bots, NPCs, non-playable characters. You don't have the capacity to think for yourselves. What Trump law he does need to end is the No Child Left Behind law, because this is the effect of just passing kids along through the school system, and they don't even know how to think or have any of the minuteness critical thinking skills. I am embarrassed and ashamed for you guys. The entire time these leaders got y'all intoxicated. I can't even call them leaders. They're not my leaders, but they're your leaders. They have you intoxicated on racism and lies. And the whole time, you are the patsy. You are the person that's being played. And the saddest part about it, you don't even know it. Shame on y'all.
I'm not done gloating yet, right? Because the same people, right? See, this is a video I did 6 months ago. Liberal panelist attempts to defend Biden-Harris economy, right? But this is how the Democrats were talking about it, right? And this is a so-called economist, right? Look,
they do not believe that their incomes have superseded inflationary rates.
I mean, they have.
But let's,
they have.
For some.
No, overall. Like,
for
they
some.
have.
I'm going to push back on that. I think it's easy for people living in big
I
East
cover
Coast
this. This is my job.
Yeah, so Campbell, our favorite financial journalist, right? She said, oh, this is my job. I have the numbers. Yeah, your numbers were flawed. Yeah, your numbers were manipulated. Yeah, you're just spreading a narrative. And look at the pushback. Common sense pushback here.
I understand that it's your job, but when you go and talk to regular people, they're going to tell you, when I go to the grocery store, it is more expensive for me to pay for goods.
That's true. That
so
is
you
true.
cannot negate that fact with all due respect to your job.
Okay, I'm just saying inflation has gone up. That is very painful. I do not discount that. It's very salient. Groceries, gas, among other things. That's absolutely true.
Caused by government spending, by Joe Biden spending money as if he was in war.
But it's not true that that household incomes are at a decade low. It's not true that the economy isn't growing or that we turned off the oil spigot or whatever else. I think.
But that is true now, right? 2020 vision, right? Voters were right about the economy. The data was wrong. Flawed statistics. Flawed narrative. Before the presidential election, many Democrats were puzzled by the seemingly disconnected between economic realities. No, what they were disconnected about was the economic perception. And I talked about it in that video that I just showed you to gloat, to vindicate myself 6 months ago. I talked about how if you look at the stats, if you survey people, the higher someone's income is, the less likely they are to say that inflation is affecting them in their day-to-day life. And another interesting thing I also want to correlate with why many Democrats fell for this economic misconception is that many Democrats are educated, so-called educated. What it really means is they got college degrees, and we all know the statistics with college degrees. College degrees people tend to make more money than working class people. So this is why I said the Democrats are the party of the rich. But they want to sit here and pretend that they're fighting for the little guy. Get the F out of my face. This is the party of condescending, snooty, nose in the air. They think they know it all. Liberal. What's his name? Kimball. I'm sorry, Kimball. You are a perfect representation of what I have. Like, if you were to say, Kenny, what's the avatar of a liberal that you're talking about that are condescending, know-it-all, snooty? This is what I'm talking about.
I think you can recognize how people feel and also give them the real facts about how.
She wasn't giving real facts. She was giving a flawed facts. There's three kind of lies in this world. Lies, damned lies, and statistics. You have to, end of the day, statistics doesn't tell you what the reality of the thing is. All statistics tell you is a result. How you frame that result is really up to perception, but it's not reality. The reality is the outcome. Oh, incomes grew according to what? Give me the specifics. You can't just give me your interpretation of the data. I don't think the data says what you think it says. And look at the reality. Voters were right because the liberal panelist on the panel, she was referencing a lagging indicator, a snapshot in history that was far gone already. And then in 2025, when we reviewed the data, we find out, oh, look, you fluff up the numbers 500,000. 818,000 one time, I believe, last year. And there's still more jobs they need to do. They still need to make more revisions on the data. And you're sitting here trying to lecture to me, and you wonder why no one trusts the Democrats. You wonder why Democrats are unpopular. You wonder why trust in the mainstream media is at an all-time low. You wonder why liberal media is hollowing out. Because you spew crap like this. Because at the end of the day, I don't give a damn about your credentials. This is why I trust the internet more than I trust the TV as a millennial 28-year-old man. Independent voter. Non-party affiliated voter in Florida. I'm telling you all my demographics. The number one reason I don't trust people's credentials, you may look good on paper, but I need to see the results. I need to see the outcomes. And when I evaluate people on the internet, when I evaluate X as a platform versus mainstream media, X get it more right than they get it wrong, compared to the media where they get it seemingly every damn thing wrong. Many in Washington briled at the public's failure to register how strong the economy really was. They charged that right-wing echo chambers were conning voters into believing entirely preposterous narratives about America's decline. What they rarely considered was whether something else might be responsible for the disconnect. Whether, for instance, government statistics was fundamentally flawed. But you see the arrogance of the left. We can admit that corporations can be flawed. But for some reason, the left never want to acknowledge that governments can be flawed. Governments can be corrupt. This is why we wanted Doge. But leftists have this blind loyalty, this blind allegiance to the government. Oh my God, these hardworking people that's fighting that's working with the government, they're doing it at the interest of the American people. I know many people who work in corporate America who believe that their mission is to give their customers the best services and the best products ever. American corporations serve the American people at the same motive as the government. I both get paid to do your job, right? You're not working in the government for free, right? So I don't understand why the left likes to paint this narrative about federal workers as if they're so much better than private section workers. You're still getting benefits. You're still getting paid. You're getting paid to do a service. You're providing something to the American people. So I have to evaluate you based on the services that you provide. What if the numbers supporting the case for broadened prosperity were themselves misrepresentations? What if, in fact, darker assessments of the economy were more authentically tethered to reality? On some level, I relate to the underlying frustration. Having the disconnect between hard government numbers and the popular perception has spurred me to question that faith. I've had the benefits of living in two realms that seeming rarely to intersect. As these numbers have time and time again suggested to many in Washington that unemployment is low, that wages are growing for the middle America, and that to greater or lesser degree, economic growth is lifting all boats upon year over year. But when traveling the country, I've encountered something very different. Cities that appeared increasingly seedy, regions that seemed derelict. Driving into the office each day in Washington, I noted a homeless encampment fixed outside the Federal Reserve itself. And then I began to dissect the second pattern inside and outside D.C. alike. Democrats on the whole seem more and more inclined to believe that the economy indicators reported. Republicans, by contrast, seem more inclined to believe that they were seeing with their own two eyes. And that's the funny part. The left will be the same people to say, we need to believe black people's lived experience. But when Republicans reference data that suggests that, hey, your perception isn't reality, Democrats will give credence to, oh, you can't tell people about their lived experience. Now, let's switch this to the American people. The American people overwhelmingly said, yo, we're in a recession, bro. I can't find a job. I'm unemployed. You say that there's all these jobs out there. I'm not getting callbacks from these employers. These jobs are fake. There was a whole concept online called ghost jobs. But the Democrats sit here and tell you, you wrongly believe in that. You were wrong. Then what? 8 months later, you were right. Within the nation capital, this gap in perception has been profoundly implications. For decades, a small cohort of federal agencies have reported many of the same economic statistics, using fundamentally the same methodologies or relying on the same sources. This is the problem with the mainstream media. They don't question these sources. They don't try to find alternative sources. They get a bunch of sources in the same political hemisphere. I got 3 articles saying that this thing is not true. MSNBC, CBS, and CNN. You only got Fox News referencing this thing. Ha ha ha. Your thing's fake news. No, you're referencing 3 left-wing sources. And I'm referencing 1 alternative source compared to your source to give you a full picture. And this is the kind of stuff that infuriates a lot of Americans. Rarely has anyone ever asked whether the figures that they release adhere to the reality. When you have a theory in reality, you have to test. When you have a theory, you have to test it in reality. And if the outcomes don't go along with your theories, you must accept that your theory is wrong. But that's not the left. The left has a conclusion and they find data to validate that conclusion. While most people, they look at the data and let the data lead their conclusions. Dive deeper into some of the most frequently cited headline statistics. What we uncovered was shocking. The bottom line is, for 20 years or more, including the months prior to the election, voters' perceptions was more reflective of reality than the incumbent the statistics. I could have told you that. Statistics are lagging indicators. They're a snapshot in history. Leading indicators is more public sentiment, especially if the thing is directly affecting people. Grocery prices, if people complain about eggs, that stuff's not going to come up into the data until someone actually have the willingness to make research on it. And we know a lot of these universities, they're politically dominated by the left. If you put out research that goes against a left-wing narrative, they'll prosecute you. They'll reject you. Roland Fryer is a guy I comment here on my channel as an economist who proved that police have no negative bias against someone based on the color of their skin. There's no difference between how police treat you based on the color of your skin. He got death threats. He got told by his colleagues at Harvard not to release the research because it wouldn't be a good look. This is the kind of stuff that we're running in colleges. But we're mad at we wonder why our kids' education is at the bottom. You wonder why in the clip that I showed you of the black woman highlighting how a lot of people are just brainwashed, that they dumb down our education system to a point where people are leading and thinking with their feelings and not thinking with logic. That any amount of skepticism, merely because you don't have evidence to support your skepticism, but the person doesn't have evidence to counter your skepticism, they think it's a fact check. That's the kind of world we live in. That's the kind of environment and narratives that the media has created. And honestly, I'm sick of it. Who's shocked? Like, honestly, let me know in the comments section. Who's legitimately shocked that, again, the American people was right about the economy and the data was wrong? Who's shocked? Who's shocked that all the media heads were wrong again? Who's shocked? Who's shocked the people on cable news like CNN, like Campbell, I forgot her name, Catherine Campbell? Who's surprised that a financial journalist whose job is to research the economy got it wrong over a guy who didn't even study a lick of that ish? All I did was read Thomas Sowell, Basic Economics, and I'm a better economist than the actual economist. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Voters were more right about the economy than so-called experts. Oh, the experts failed again. Just like Anthony Fauci. Oh, masks will prevent COVID. People are like, how does that work? You're spreading it. It's like your hands are touching it. Like how you're not spreading? How is it supposed to protect us? It's breathable. Like they still can go through the mask. Like how does that work? Don't listen to the experts. Leftism. I remember I made a controversial video, I think. Leftists got mad at me. I said that leftism does not value critical thinkers. Leftism hates critical thinkers. This is why. A critical thinker will question dogma. Ask me a question I cannot answer. Not an answer I cannot question. And the left operates like an answer that cannot be questioned. You're just supposed to believe that racism is a thing for black people. You're supposed to believe that Democrats are better governance. You're supposed to believe that Democrats have the best interests at heart. No. But when you ask questions, when you question their dogma, it crumbles. And this is the reality of the left. They want people, they want parrots. They don't want intellectuals. That's the problem with the left right now. Democrats want you to shut up and vote for their interests. Shut up and allow illegals to take advantage of your taxpayer coffers. Shut up and allow the Democrats to waste all your government money so they can bribe new voters coming into this country and push their ideology onto all their vulnerable cultures, countries, and children. And us Americans, we're supposed to sit back and let it happen for their benefit. How narcissistic and self-centered the party of the Democrats have become. But I digress once again. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I would like to hear your thoughts about voters being vindicated yet again. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Share the video if you feel so inclined. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.